6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe, assisted by Nilusha Jayamana, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. General Chavendra Silva says travel restrictions will not be imposed during the weekend. The Supreme Court concludes consideration of petitions challenging the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. The Prime Minister emphasises that the state banking system should be maintained in a strong manner. A task force will be appointed to take further measures on the discoloration of the water in the Devanna Oya. In news from overseas, coronavirus reaches world's tallest peak. Army Commander and Head of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, General Chavendra Silva says travel restrictions will not be imposed during the weekend and the public is requested to avoid gatherings and assist to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. He said necessary measures will be taken to isolate the areas where the number of COVID-positive cases are high. The Supreme Court today concluded the consideration of petitions challenging the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. The petitions were taken up today before a 5-member Supreme Court bench consisting of Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya and Justices Buenaka Aluwihare, Priyantha Jayawardena, Murdu Fernando and Janak De Silva. The decision of the Supreme Court judge bench will be conveyed to the Speaker of the Parliament in due course. Nearly 20 petitions had been submitted against the draft bill. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piris, SLPP General Secretary Sagara Karivasam and the Legal Association of the SLPP had filed interim petitions to make submissions regarding the petitions. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the state banking system should be maintained in a strong manner. The Prime Minister said that steps will be taken in due course to solve problems prevailing in the state banks. The Prime Minister mentioned this during a discussion today with Pragati Bank Employees Union. The meeting took place at the Prime Minister's office at the Parliament complex. The union members commended Prime Minister Rajapaksa for restoring the pensions of People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon and the National Savings Bank as the President in 2014, which had been stopped since 1996. Speaker Mahinda Abewardena has instructed the Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Anil Jasinghe, to appoint a task force for the purpose of taking further measures regarding the contamination and discoloration of the water in the Devanna Oya. The Speaker pointed out that there is an urgent need to identify and implement swift solutions to overcome the current situation. He pointed out that further steps should be also taken to ensure that such a situation would not reoccur. Secretary General of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayaka pointed out the need for constant monitoring whether only treated water that conforms with the respective standards are being disposed from public and private institutions, housing complexes, industries and housing schemes. Secretary of the Ministry of Environment Dr. Anil Jasinghe explained the need to implement a program to prevent the impact caused by the sewage dumped by unauthorized occupants and the need to establish a formal program with relevant powers to protect the quality of the Devanna Oya. Environment Ministry Secretary Dr. Anil Jasinghe says that a cabinet paper has already been drafted to convert the Muthurajawala Sanctuary to a national park. The Secretary was speaking at the Committee on Public Accounts chaired by Professor Tissa Vitarana in Parliament. Dr. Anil Jasinghe said that a joint committee has been appointed, inclusive of all parties responsible for the conservation of the Muthurajawala Sanctuary as recommended by the previous meeting of the COPA. It was mentioned that the committee will be co-chaired by the Secretaries of the Ministries of Urban Development, Wildlife and Forest Conservation. U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplis, announced yesterday the first grants awarded through the U.S. government's Clean Cities Blue Ocean program, totaling to $345,000. These grants to Sri Lankan organizations will fund projects that help protect Sri Lanka's cities and marine resources from plastic pollution. Dr. Anil Jasinghe, Secretary for the Ministry of Environment, joined Ambassador Teplis at the event. Ambassador Teplis said national and local coordination, enduring partnerships, community engagement and localized solutions are key to reversing the impact of pollution and environmental degradation. She said the Clean Cities Blue Ocean program incorporates the principles and will help Sri Lankans build sustainable solutions to protect the precious oceans. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and the Public Interest Law Foundation received funding to develop, test and implement new models to enhance solid waste management and promote reducing, reusing and recycling practices. Working in Colombo, Galle and Jaffna districts, grantees will collaborate with local and national government entities to manage solid waste more effectively. The Clean Cities Blue Ocean program in the U.S. government's flagship program to respond to the global crisis of ocean plastic pollution. Minister Keheliya Rambukwella has requested the public to support to control COVID-19 by strictly following health protective measures. He pointed out that the virus was brought under control earlier with the public support. He also said that Sri Lankans arriving from overseas cannot be stopped from coming to the country. However, the minister said that if they are infected with the virus, necessary preventive measures will be taken. Meanwhile, President's chief advisor Lalit Veeratunga said COVID vaccine has been given to about 930,000 people. He said that another 13 million are to be given the vaccine. He further said that the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine will be given from the beginning of next month for those who have been given the first dose. 15 million vaccines have been ordered so far. Professor Neelika Malavigiya said that the new variant can infect more people, especially the youth. She said it is compulsory to follow health protective measures. Media Secretary of the Fisheries Ministry, Nelson Edirisinghe, said that Sri Lankan fishermen detained in Myanmar have been released by the Myanmar government. He said that all measures have been taken to repatriate the released fishermen. Mr. Edirisinghe disclosed this at the press conference organized by the National Fishermen's Association. The press conference was held at the Ministry of Fisheries in Maligawat this afternoon. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
Minister Professor G.L. Piris says that commencing of schools which uses all 3 languages for teaching will help to develop education and to understand each other. The minister, while attending a function at Kotte Rahula Vidyalaya, said that the school will be developed as a trilingual school. He said that government would provide the students with education mixed with practical aspects, enabling them to face challenges in life. State Minister Nalaka Godahewa says that good governance government took political revenge in the most despicable manner in the recent past. He said that officials from the Prime Minister's office had also given orders to the CID during that time. Therefore, he said in Parliament today that justice is expected from the judiciary. State Minister Indika Anuruddha said that all in the Good Governance Government's Anti-Corruption Committee should be held accountable to political revenge. He said that the Mahasangha was harassed by taking them to courts by the then government. He further said that although that government influenced the then government to file cases against various individuals, the present government has no intention to take political revenge. MP Asanka Navaratna said that relief should be provided to the family members who have lost their jobs due to political revenge of the previous government. This was revealed during the second day of the debate on the Political Revenge Commission report in Parliament today. That was local news.
Darling, our daughter has top O-level results. You know what this means?
Yes, just 3 years and she'll be going abroad for her degree.
For which we'll need a bank loan.
But is a normal loan the smartest option?
What else?
The smartest way is to start an HDFC Smart Goals account.
Let your child begin their degree with no delays. Start an HDFC Smart Goals account. Call 2356 888.
Honey, you're so smart.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID-19 Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle says permission will not be granted to hold any kind of public gathering in the coming month. She said reconsidering current quarantine regulations and imposing new quarantine regulations is underway. Action will be taken to isolate Grama Niladhari divisions and villages as and when required. The State Minister requests the public to curtail their travel plans and help prevent the virus spread. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, a prepaid smart card for public transport would be introduced soon. The agreement was signed by the Minister of Transport Gamini Lokuge recently with the National Transport Commission Chairman Shashi Welgama. Other stakeholders involved in this project are People's Bank, Lanka Clear and the Sri Lanka Transport Board. Smart machines will be provided to bus conductors in the future. The ministry in the future will also link this card with private buses and train services. That came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this out of the season. People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this out of the season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Headlines of the world news. Coronavirus reaches world's tallest peak. Australia resists call for tougher climate targets. Tokyo Motor Show cancelled for the first time. At least one climber on Mount Everest has tested positive for COVID-19 just weeks after the world's tallest peak reopened to climbers following a year of closure. Norwegian climber Erlend Næss was isolated in hospital for 8 nights due to the virus. Reports say a Sherpa in his party had also tested positive for the virus. The outbreak is a blow to Nepal, which relies heavily on income generated from Everest expeditions. Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison has resisted pressure to set more ambitious carbon emission targets while other major nations vowed deeper reductions to tackle climate change. Addressing a global climate summit, Mr. Morrison said Australia was on a path to net zero emissions, but he stopped short of setting a timeline, saying the country would not get there as soon as possible. It came as the US, Canada and Japan set new commitments for steeper cuts. The Tokyo Motor Show has been cancelled for the first time in its 67-year history due to rising virus cases. The cancellation of the event comes even as the organizers of the Summer Olympics push ahead with their plans. It comes as Japan is expected to declare a state of emergency for Tokyo, Osaka and other 2 prefectures from the 25th of April to the 11th of May. Japan is facing a surge in COVID-19 cases driven by more infectious variants of the virus. Back to the headlines of the world news. Coronavirus reaches world's tallest peak. Australia resists calls for tougher climate targets. Tokyo Motor Show cancelled for the first time. That was World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
The best discount in this Urdu season. People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, work on the long-awaited Basnagoda Reservoir project commenced recently with the aim of supplying drinking water and industrial water required for several areas in the Gampaha, Athanagala, Minuangoda and Mirigama Divisional Secretariat divisions. A ceremony to commence the construction of the project was held under the patronage of Irrigation Minister Chamal Rajapaksa and Tourism Minister Prasanna Rantunga at Karasnagoda in Athanagala. On to sports news. Cricket. Today is the third day of the first test match between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh at the Pallekele International Stadium in Kandy. Bangladesh declared their first innings 541 for 7 wickets. In reply, Sri Lanka were 229 for 3 wickets at stumps today. Football news. Wembley has been given an extra Euro 2020 last 16 tie, which could involve England after Dublin lost its 4 fixtures because of COVID-19 issues. Bilbao's 4 games have been moved to fellow Spanish city Seville, while Munich will keep the matches it is down to host. Dublin's 3 group games have gone to St. Petersburg and its 16 knockout match will be at Wembley. The last 16 tie will feature the winner of Group D, which includes England. That was sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The first stage of Knowledge City Malabe by Access Residencies and Foresight Engineering Private Limited was ceremonially declared open by the Minister of Education, Professor G.L. Piris, recently. Knowledge City Malabe is said to be a city within a city which offers everything a person needs in close proximity, with over 50% of space dedicated for education and education-related activities. The Knowledge City Malabe Master Project is a 7 billion rupee investment. That was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
In economic news, headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change in the National Consumer Price Index increased to 5.1% in March 2021 from 4.2% in February 2021. This was due to the statistical effect of the low base prevailed in March 2020. Meanwhile, food inflation increased to 8.8% in March 2021 from 6.9% in February 2021, and non-food inflation increased marginally to 2% in March 2021 from 1.9% in February 2021. Send in your business and economic news to newsslbc@yahoo.com. That was economic news. And on to the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and southern provinces. Showers or thunder showers may occur at several places elsewhere during the afternoon or night. Heavy rainfall above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, Uva and southern provinces. Prior to concluding the news, the headlines once again. General Shamendra Silva says travel restrictions will not be imposed during the weekend. The Supreme Court concludes consideration of petitions challenging the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. The Prime Minister emphasizes that the state banking system should be maintained in a strong manner. A task force will be appointed to take further measures on the discoloration of the water in the Diyavarna Oya. In news from overseas, coronavirus reaches world's tallest peak. That ends this news broadcast, and back to Victor to keep you entertained this evening.